Hello. So, super quick July wrap up today and a summary of how my unread shelf project is going. So, in July, I did finish 7 books, but most of them were for language learning purposes, and they were either rereads or children's books. So I will put them up here, but I'm not really going to talk about them because most of them I have already talked about when I read them the first time. Oh, I forgot to close my window. Hold, please. The book that I did read was Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe, and I really, really enjoyed this. I picked this up on a whim fairly recently. I wanted to read it. I felt like the, hype had kind of died down, but it was something that I remained interested in reading, and I adore the cover of this. The neon and everything is just so cool to me. So this is the story of a young Chinese American girl growing up in San Francisco in the 50s. And so it starts when she's roughly in high school, and she is navigating the complex environment of the US in the 50s, the whole kind of Red Scare targeting of Chinese descended people is happening, and so there's that going on. At the same time, she is discovering her queer identity, and obviously that is not something that is accepted or even really discussed at the time, but she does, find things that kind of make that identity visible to her, make it a possibility for her, and so it develops from there. Obviously, I don't want to tell you the whole plot, but this was sad, but also really, really beautiful, really incredibly well written. This is a YA book, and sometimes I don't find the writing in YA particularly beautiful, even if I think it's a well-written book, it's just not usually very pretty in my opinion. And I do think that this had passages that I found very, very beautiful. I think the characters were really well developed, and also the queer history, the lesbian history in this is really, really good. I'm certainly not an expert, but I did take a class on lesbian authors throughout American history in university, which was probably my favorite class I ever took, and a lot of the things that we talked about were mentioned in here, like the pulp novels that, were kind of written under the guise of punishing women for being queer, but were nonetheless a big source of queer awakening for many people, a big source of kind of representation, even though often, they had a bad ending. And also the presence of queer nightclubs and performances. And great book. I do recommend it. So my unread shelf project. So counting only my English and Spanish books, at the start of this year, I had 65 unread books. And currently I have 28, so that is 21 books read, finished completely, 32 books unhauled, so either unhauled without reading or DNF'd and then given away, and 16 books acquired during that time. Some of those numbers might be kind of flipped a little bit, but as of right now, if you do the math, that's the net total. So overall, I feel pretty good about this. I certainly could have made a lot more progress, in the past 7 months, because I am still reading a lot of books, from the library. I'm still acquiring books, obviously, and that's okay. I don't have any problem with that, but I would still like to get my shelf, finished. I thought that I might reach a point at which, and I still may, at which I feel comfortable with my unread shelf and kind of stop doing this, which is what I did the last time I did this several years ago. I got down to 12 books, and I was only reading in English at the time. And I was like, that's fine. I feel good about this. I am not to that point yet. I still want to finish it for now, because I feel like the longer books sit on this shelf, the less excited I am about reading them. And until that changes, I do still want to finish the shelf, because right now, unless my feelings change, I would like to get to a point where I buy a book and then within a month or two, I read it, and that's it. And also, I have been, decluttering my red shelf as well. I've talked about this before, but I don't get huge amounts of joy of just owning books. Obviously there are books that I really love to own, and I like having a really well curated collection, but it's not something that I want to have like a library or anything at this point in my life, at least. Like, I won't live in this apartment for the rest of my life, presumably, and so possibly if I do end up somewhere that I feel like I will be for decades, then I will maybe want more books. So usually I'm only keeping books if I think I will reread them, or if I think I will loan them to someone, or like reference them for some purpose. So I did just go through pretty recently and get rid of some more because a bookstore was opening in my city, and so they were looking for donations, and so I did donate, a couple dozen of my red shelf as well. So yeah, I think I have decluttered everything from my unread shelf that I am going to probably. So at this point, it's going to be reading them or DNFing them that is going to reduce the count. So 28 books is a long way to go still, but it's going. We are over halfway down in numbers, so that's, impressive nonetheless. Just a quick kind of channel update as well. Presumably, if you've made it this far, you at least somewhat care. So I was trying to do weekly uploads for most of the summer on both this channel and my language learning channel, and I was enjoying that, and I was seeing some amount of, I don't want to say success, but some amount of growth from that. But on this channel, I think most of us that do booktube are aware of how difficult it is to grow on booktube. Absolutely so much appreciate everyone who watches my videos and comments, and the conversations and recommendations that I get are worth it. But I am a person with finite time and resources, and so I am not doing weekly uploads on this channel anymore. I am probably cutting back just in general and uploading, my wrap-ups, and then when I have something I want to make, or, if I want to do a reading vlog because a particular week I want to read more or something like that, definitely will be continuing to do that. But I think my kind of growth mindset for this channel has been put on the back burner because, it's just too hard, and I am trying to, do a lot of things in my life. So you just have to choose your battles, and I don't think this is one that I'm choosing right now. But anyway, I hope everyone's summer is going really well, and I will see you in the next video.